Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast, way out there in the Pacific, as far away as Hawaii, America Samoa, Northern Mariana Islands. Welcome to my daily live training, and good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. It's a great day, a little bit overcast, but it doesn't matter. Every day is a great day if you just take it that way. I'm excited to get started. I did want to say, hey, Devin, good morning. I really appreciate how your first comment in the chat is just enthusiastic good morning to the others in the community. That's so awesome because this is a community, and let's just keep making sure we're saying hi to everybody. I like to start off with a tip that is a thank you to those of you showing up early and on time. So my tip for you today is to know what your product or your solution solves. If you know the problem your product or solution solves, then when you get to go into meetings and have questions and talk with the customer, you're going to be able to write or prepare questions that you use on a call plan going in that lead the customer towards your solution by talking about their problems that your solution solves or your product solves. Too often when we go in unprepared or not really aligning our questions to the solution that we bring, is still trying to uncover their problems, but thinking about our solution, what problems it solves. When we go in without that, then we're hearing about all sorts of problems that the customer might have, challenges, goals that maybe our products and solutions don't solve. I don't have time to talk with a customer about all of their problems, right? I just want to talk to them about the problems I can help them with. And so consider that before you go into a meeting with a client or even a teammate when you're talking about it. What problems can you solve, your company, your solution, your products? If you understand that, then you're going to have a much better meeting and much more success out there. Okay, so let me hide some of this stuff and get started. My scroll bar and get rocking and rolling here. There are many reasons why women-owned small businesses fail to meet their goals. Why you may not be hitting the goals that you set for yourself, right? In this training, I'm going to talk about the top reasons women-owned small businesses fail to hit their goals, right? It's not just about failing, but failing to hit the goals that you set for yourself. And so the top reasons I want to share with you on why women-owned small businesses might not be hitting those goals are one, constructive procrastination, working on things that are not the most important thing. The second one is you might be invisible to buyers, right? If they can't see you, how can they buy from you? And then the third one is a lack of strategic relationships. Finally, I'm going to wrap it up talking about not having a formal sales process. If you don't have a formal sales process, that's going to impact your ability to have the success and meet the goals that you've set for yourself. So I'm going to talk about these 4 reasons women-owned small businesses might be failing to hit their own goals, or you might be failing to hit your goals. And I'm going to be talking about, I'll share tips on how you can turn that around and start having the success that you want. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I've been a small business owner in the federal market for 20 years. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When you follow a process A to Z, you're going to have repeatable, predictable results. And that's what I want for you. When you have repeatable, predictable results, that's going to lead to revenue. It's going to lead to you hitting the goals that you want. And so that's what I want with you. If you're not connected with me on LinkedIn or not subscribed to my YouTube channel, go ahead and do that now so that you can hear about other great information we share. For example, I just shared on LinkedIn this morning on March 27th, I just shared a 41-page document from the military health system. They're focused on improving virtual health. So if you're in the healthcare side of the world, right? If that's your product or services around healthcare or around electronic health records or health IT, any of that kind of stuff, then go ahead and take a look at it. But that's the type of information I share every single day. It's something of value. I don't share superficial information. I share stuff I think that's going to help somebody's business go to the next level. Do me a favor, before we get too much farther, help buyers remember who you are. If you haven't already, put your company name into the chat with 2 or 3 keywords that describe what your company does. And a keyword could be 2 words, like workforce development could be a keyword. Put that in, describe your core competency so that buyers, so that I and people in this community can remember who you are. Also, we're celebrating Women History Month with women-owned small businesses focused training this week, and we've been doing this all through March. So do me a favor, let me know in the chat if you're a woman-owned small business, economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business, or if you just support women-owned small businesses. Put support women-owned small businesses. Finally, I want to say thank you to the sustaining members of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. We do not take federal dollars. We're not a federal agency, or we're not sponsored in any way by the federal government. We don't take large prime contract dollars or funding. What we do is by the generosity of sustaining members, right? Me and you. And I just want to say thank you, because through your generosity, we're able to keep making this training available to small businesses across the country. I'm going to talk in a minute about working together, but I wanted to share something I just saw. Let me see if I can remember it really quick. And I wanted to thank this person. So Melissa Sharp Breton is a connection of mine, a member of our community, the GovCon community. And she just shared something on LinkedIn that I saw, which I loved, because she was referencing success is a numbers game. And I talk about that all the time. But DHS has just decided to put a $200 million opportunity to woman-owned small business set aside. And it was because, in part, people responding, women-owned small businesses responding to sources sought, RFI, et cetera, through 2022 and I think 2023. So it was exciting to hear that. And this is why I want you to engage on LinkedIn. And this goes into the whole heart of today's topic about not just why women-owned small businesses fail, but what we can do to not fail to meet our goals. All right, I'm going to dive into 4 topics today, and I'm going to move pretty fast. Just check my tech here to make sure it's good to go. I'm going to move pretty fast. And if you have questions, go ahead and DM me later. But I want to give you specific tips on what you can do, why we might be failing, and what you can do to turn that around. And so the first reason that I mentioned that women-owned small businesses are failing to meet their goals is what I call constructive procrastination, working on something other than the most important thing. It's constructive. For example, if I just use my own world, right? If I start working on a new course, but I'm not finishing up the primary course I want to get out, then yes, it's constructive. And yes, we could use this course in the future, but we need to get this other course out. We need to let the sustaining members know that, hey, there's a new course for them. And so sometimes I find myself getting caught up in constructive procrastination. I'm not finishing what I need to do. An example of constructive procrastination, I want to give you 2. One is the blame game, and the other is focusing on the infinite instead of the finite. So the blame game, the idea of this, and in a minute, I'm going to say you're not wrong. It's a distraction, right? But the blame game is blaming Congress for whatever reason women-owned small businesses might not be succeeding, blaming the SBA, blaming agencies. And by the way, I'm saying this about women-owned small businesses, but this is exactly what I saw going on with hub zones back in 2017 when I started the GovCon Chamber. We were blaming Congress or SBA or agencies. We were blaming contracting officers for not setting them aside, small business professionals for not championing women-owned small businesses. We were blaming other hub zones, or in this case, we're blaming other women-owned small businesses for whatever. I'm not saying your blame or, women-owned small businesses blaming any of these entities I just mentioned or stakeholders is not misplaced. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it won't lead to success, because when we blame others, then we put them in control of the change that we want to see. Michael Jackson has a song, Change Begins with the Person in the Mirror, right? Man in the Mirror. And I love that song. I play that often when I start my day just to remind me, I'm not looking to get everybody else to change to improve the life that I have or the business I have, et cetera. What can I do to improve it? And that's what I want to encourage you to do is think about taking responsibility for whatever's going on. And when you take responsibility, not blaming yourself, you're just taking responsibility for the success you want. When you take that responsibility, then you're putting yourself in control of where you're going. You don't put Congress, SBA, agencies, KOs, small business professionals, or other women-owned small businesses in charge of your success. You're putting yourself in charge of your success. And then you start going, well, what's one thing I can do to move forward? And I'm going to talk to you about several things you can actually do to go forward. So consider stopping the blame game. And I find myself sometimes doing that as well. It's one of the reasons I never publicly blame anybody, is it helps me not blame privately, if that makes sense. So a second reason that you might be caught up in constructive procrastination, or second example, is focusing on the infinite instead of the finite. And so an example is focusing on your annual goal. Let's say you want to make $5 million this year, and you and your team are all focused on talking about reaching the goal, and then you're talking about how you're going to spend it. We call this Google talk, by the way. If I could make billions, what would we do? And even me and my team, we sometimes Google talk, but we make sure we call it Google talk. We're just spitballing about how great the future could be. But when you think about constructive procrastination, if you spend too long talking about the end, then you're not talking about today. And so if you back up from the end, you got monthly goals you need to achieve. But if you back up from the monthly goals, you got weekly goals. I want you to think about getting involved in steps that take activity and steps that take days, not years, right? When you think about policies or some of these other things, they could take forever. But if you think about some of the tips I'm going to give you today, they'll take you a single day to get done, or maybe 7 to 30 days. But that's way less than years. And so getting involved in steps that take years instead of days will distract us. It's constructive procrastination. I wanted to give you 2 sets of examples. The first example set is, and I hear this a lot, especially with women-owned small business firms, and this is why I want to help us just see, are we maybe in this world? Are you perhaps doing this? But we put focus on, on category management and best-in-class contract vehicles. We keep getting pulled into the dialogue about how this consolidation of contract vehicles is bringing us all down, and we're not able to achieve success because of blah, blah, blah. Well, that opportunity I just said earlier in this training about women-owned small businesses themselves just pushed a $200 million opportunity, a BPA, to them, right? And so yes, there is activity that's happening out there with best-in-class contract vehicles and consolidation and less competition with the vehicle holders, whatever. You can't change that, but you can change some of the activity. And so I'm just trying to get us to focus on what we can change instead of going to events where the whole event basically is complaining about category management or best-in-class vehicle. Instead, I'd rather go to an event where they say, how can we get a $1 million contract? How can we get a $10 million or $100 million contract pushed to women-owned small businesses? Another example that I want to use is focusing on policies. And this is one for sure that I look at for years. In the Hub Zone program, when I did it back in 2017 to 2018, that was another one I saw people obsessed with, was constantly trying to change the rules that the SBA or Congress is dealing with. And at the time, what I realized was we just didn't know how to get things pushed to set aside. We didn't truly understand why they weren't getting set aside. But once we realized that, we were able to push $3 billion more. And so I think personally that the fact that women-owned small businesses have a limited set of NAICS codes that they can go after is crazy. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I want that changed in the law. But I won't go work on it because I don't care. It'll take way too long and it'll take too much of my energy. But if I instead sit there and say, you know what, my way of helping women-owned small businesses is to show up every day and provide training, a little bit of training, providing short-term answers instead of dealing with these long-term congressional or SBA or FAR type changes. That's sometimes it's constructive procrastination. Yes, it's needed, but we shouldn't all be in there. There should be a group of people who are championing the policies, and the rest of us will focus on day to day. So I just want you to think about that for a second, right? Is constructive procrastination impacting you? Are you finding yourself getting caught up in the blame game or working on the infinite instead of the finite, working on things that take years to see any kind of resolution or any kind of goals being achieved compared to working on things that take days or weeks? So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. One of the reasons we might not be hitting our goals is constructive procrastination. The second one is we're invisible, women-owned small businesses in particular, right, for today, we're invisible to federal buyers and teammates. This one's a pretty straightforward thing because I'm saying one of the reasons women-owned small businesses fail is because you're invisible to the federal buyer. If I just tell you in the next couple of minutes how to become visible, this one is very quickly addressed. In fact, it's way easier than the first one because this is just task related compared to habit related. So I just want to set the stage. There's 9,000 women-owned small businesses registered with the SBA as certified women-owned small businesses. And so no matter how many real women-owned small businesses that are out there, there's 9,000. That's our number. And right now, not all of them are visible. And I'm going to come back and show you that in a second. So the first thing is in the dynamic small business search, if you go into DSBS right now, there's like 85,000 firms, and yours might be one of them, that say they're a woman-owned small business, self-certified. but they're not SBA certified. So if you want to be a woman-owned small business certified, so you can, be part of the set-asides, then get in there and apply for that process with the SBA. Even if there's some hiccups and it's a little bit difficult, so is learning to ride a bike. You learn to ride a bike and you bang your shin against the pedal and it hurts, but eventually you're riding a bike and you can go places. The SBA is no different. They might bang your shin a little bit, but you'll be fine. Inside of DSBS, so many people are not complete. I did this example last week in training where I used this term called zero trust architecture. And so zero trust architecture, it's a cybersecurity thing, basically. And when you go into DSBS and search, like 7 or 9 firms are coming back with that phrase. There's thousands that probably do it, but only 7, less than 10 are coming back in the results. And so what I encourage you to do is to make sure you go in and complete your DSBS profile. That's how the buyers are finding you in the dynamic small business search, which is part of SAM. Go in there, figure it out. In YouTube, I've got an entire course that talks about how to do this for free. So everything you need to have somebody guide you, me, on how to fill out a great profile is there, and you'll increase your visibility. The other is DSBS. One of the reasons you might be invisible to the buyers is that you're not really sure how the buyers use DSBS. And so I just want to tell you very quickly that when the federal buyer is doing market research and they go out to industry to see, how many people looks like they do zero trust, for example. If they search women-owned small business and zero trust for any woman-owned small business right now who's a cybersecurity firm, I would be willing to bet they'd find like 1 firm, 2 firms. That tells them that there's no women-owned small businesses that do zero trust architecture. That's crazy. I have 3 customers alone who do zero trust architecture that are women-owned small business firms. And so we need to understand how the buyers research. They do it just like you would for a plumber. They look into DSBS, they type in a keyword, they might do a couple other filters, and they look at the results. And when they look at the results, they then look at the full profile to learn more about you. I do a whole training on DSBS. Go check it, take a look at that. Another reason you're invisible to buyers is that you're maybe not in the supplier portal, right? Supplier portals are just like DSBS, except for narrowed down, niche down to a particular agency or a large prime. Go download in our website. You can download a supplier directory. It's free. It's an ebook, and it has like 100 plus supplier portal links. And in there, you just fill it out the same as you do DSBS. But when a large prime or an agency is looking for a company like yours, they might look to their portal and then go to DSBS, right? So you want to be visible where they're at. And the last one on being invisible to federal buyers is in LinkedIn, you're not taking full advantage. So I'm using these 3 things. Buyers look at DSBS, they look at their own supplier portals perhaps, and they're looking at LinkedIn, which is the only professional social media network out there, right? So they look at LinkedIn, and 3 things you really want to pay attention to. Are you using keywords? Many small businesses aren't using the keywords. Women-owned small businesses aren't using keywords that define what they do. They also are not using WOSB. Put WOSB into the LinkedIn profile, into your LinkedIn profile, and you increase the likelihood you're going to get found. Inside of DSBS, there's 9,000 women-owned small business certified firms. If you go to LinkedIn and type WOSB, there's only 1,200. Those aren't even necessarily these 9,000, right? So take a minute, go in there. This takes less than 5 minutes to make this update in your profile. The other thing is you're not uploading your capability statement into LinkedIn. So let's get your LinkedIn profile updated with keywords and then put your capability statement in. So if somebody lands on your profile, right? Many people are viewing your profile, 10 people a month, 100 people a month, 1,000 people a month. That's not unrealistic. They're visiting your profile. And when they do, you want to make sure your capability statement's front and center, because if they're in the federal space, we're used to clicking on a flyer like that and learning more about you. And the last thing on LinkedIn that keeps us kind of invisible to the buyer is we're not engaging with buyers 15 minutes every day. Doesn't take time, right? Just a couple of days ago, DoD CIO, who I'm connected with, and I would be following even if we weren't connected, he's engaging out there. He's posting some content. He's talking about something out there. I get in and I engage with him. I want to stay on his radar, and I actually like what he's posting as well, so I can engage with it in a comment, etc. But when you do this, you keep yourself visible to buyers. Don't be engaging with everybody on LinkedIn, but know who are the teammates, who are the federal buyers you want to have relationships with, and make sure you just use LinkedIn to engage with them. Thumbs up, a comment. That's what engagement means. Okay, so we're cruising through, got 10 minutes left, and I got two more main things I want to talk to you about as it relates to why women-owned small businesses might be failing. So this third reason I want to talk to you about is we tend to go it alone. When we go into business, you might be a business owner and you're all by yourself, or you just focus on your own company and you don't want the competition to know anything about you. And so part of the problem with going alone is that we don't have enough relationships, and anybody who's talked to you about how to succeed in government contracting or really in any business is going to tell you relationships are vital. They're really important. You don't just have them and don't do anything with them, but you must have relationships. So one of the problems that I see with people going alone is that they don't have enough relationships. Another problem is that they're not embracing your competitors. Your competimates is what we call them. Sometimes they're a competitor, sometimes they're a teammate, so that makes them a competitor. So let me talk about not having enough relationships. When I say having enough relationships, if we talk about the federal agency buyers, we're talking about these three types of relationships I've described in previous trainings. Focus of receptivity. These are the nice people who share any information they can with you about their agency, make introductions when they can. Those are focuses of receptivity. Focuses of dissatisfaction, they're the people with the problem. Typically the program office, you're going to go in and talk. So you need to have relationships with people who are going to help you navigate the agency, people who have the problem. So the program office, you can learn about their goals and their challenges. And then focuses of power. These are the contract specialists, contracting officers. These are the people who award the contracts, right? And so you want to have relationships with these folks. And what I see is too many of us are not actually getting these relationships when early on in developing them and maintaining them, et cetera. We're waiting until we need information, and then we're reaching out to people, right? We see something in SAM or GovWin or whatever, and we see some points of contact. We call them, we ask for something, we go away. We're not building a relationship. We're just reaching in and taking, right? And so Harvey McKay wrote a book called Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty, and it's a great idea for you to be paying attention here. Build the relationships before you need them. Dig your well before you're thirsty. You want to have these relationships in place so they begin to know, like, and trust you. You're working with them to learn about their agencies so that when you get to opportunities, you've already got a relationship that allows you to begin to talk to them about specific opportunities. So don't wait until you need information. Build relationships now. The other thing about going alone is that we tend to not embrace our competitors, our competimates, and women-owned small businesses. I'm seeing this as a challenge that they're facing right now. And when I started with HubZone, that's what I'm using today in this training. Back in 2018, when I started the GovCon Chamber, that was a big problem. HubZone firms wouldn't work together. They were like, I don't want the competition to know. If there's something comes out HubZone, I don't want anybody else to see it. It's like, you got to work together. The largest work together, which is why they're able to be billion-dollar companies, is because some days they're competing and some days they're teaming together, but they don't have a problem sharing information at a certain level, right? You might keep your super secret information to yourself, but the common information out there. And so 3 tips I can give you about how to start embracing competitiveness and how to start working is, 1, have a plan to build a group of similar companies. And I talked about this in a full training last week, but basically find 5 to 20 companies that are women-owned small businesses in your similar space and begin to meet with them on a regular basis saying, hey, I want to start moving women-owned small business set-asides forward. I want to start finding them and pushing them to set aside. And so if you embrace your competimates, you guys can work together, not colluding, but just cooperating, making sure that if you hear about something, you're letting somebody else know. I call this freely sharing information, right? And so there's this concept that givers gain. If you hear about an opportunity, if you know a small business specialist who's super nice, let another woman-owned small business firm know, oh, hey, over in NavAir, this person's super nice. Go talk to her, right? Go talk to him. And so freely sharing information with your competimates, you begin to build that relationship where they know, like, and trust you. And together you build each other's success. So just keep that in mind. Don't go it alone. Break down those habits that maybe have kept you going it alone. So the last one I want to talk about is not following a proven process, right? There's a proven sales process that if you follow it, you will succeed. Now, if you're a small business under, 30 million, let's say, then don't be following these overly complex methods. I watched a company just put out today or yesterday. They're looking for a director of business development. And in there, it talks about you must follow Shipley's process. But the problem is Shipley was built for large prime contractors, billion-dollar firms. And then they bring it down to smalls and say, well, pick and choose what you want. Well, that's not good, right? Because then you're confused in your mind. It's better to establish a process for you based on your own experience, or you just use mine. I put together a 7-step process. In fact, let me just show it really quick so you know what I'm talking about. The 7-step process, right? It begins with researching the agency you're trying to get into. Then targeting, meaning identify the people you want to talk with. Outreach is picking up the phone. It's the very first step of starting a new relationship. Picking up the phone and doing introduction call. Hey, can I get to know your company? You get to know mine. Can I introduce myself, or can I learn about your agency? Right? When you've done outreach, you've got the start of relationships, and now you can start building strategic relationships that will lead to slam dunk opportunities, enabling you to write winning proposals so that you can have sales coming in on a predictable, repeatable way, right? That's what we were talking about early on, with a process leads to that predictable success. Well, it begins with research, and whether you're going after a relationship with another teaming partner, small or large, or you're going after an agency to try to get in and win a contract, it's the same process. Research, targeting, outreach, lead to relationships, opportunities, proposals, and then sales, right? Follow a proven process. Whatever you do, whatever process you follow, put it in place and make sure you and your team are following. When you do, then you're going to have that predictable results. So if you want to start achieving the goals you set for yourself as a woman-owned small business, or any company out there, for yourself and for your company, focus on the short-term gains over the long-term goals, right? Be where the buyers and teammates are looking. Follow a proven sales process like I just described. And most importantly, fully embrace the competitiveness. Embrace your competitiveness. Don't worry, the pie is big enough for everybody. And so if you embrace your competitiveness, you're going to see a lot of success out there. Hey, if you want to work with me or my team, shoot me a message on LinkedIn. Our BD Accelerator Workshop, which we've had a lot of good success previously, it has room for 3 more companies in April. And so I'm going to start interviewing companies to find those three. Typically, it's companies that are doing $1 million plus. Already got traction, and they're looking for us to take them to the next level. So if you're interested, shoot me a message on LinkedIn. And remember, government contracting, it is not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.